on 42 kilograms of shabu. This is part of the 6.7 billion pesos worth of drugs confiscated in anti-drug operations in 2022. According to Cruz, the indictments will be made before the proper forum as soon as possible.
It turned out that the contents of the two luggages were more or less 42 kilograms of shabu, with an estimated standard drug price of 285,600,000 pesos.
Among those to face charges is former PNP Drug Enforcement Group Director Narciso Domingo. Cruz said Domingo may face stiffer administrative cases relative to his subordinates over the alleged cover-up.
Pwede kang parusahan sa ginawa mo at pwede ka rin parusahan sa hindi mo ginawa. And we expect him to do the thing that should have been done by a director to prevent or even the recovery of this 42. Dapat naiyayos yun.
The Chinese embassy says Ambassador Wang Xilian may have been misquoted when he advised the Philippines against recognizing Taiwan's independence. In a statement on Facebook, the Chinese embassy said it appreciated the extensive coverage of the diplomat's speech. However, the embassy alleges that part of Xilian's speech may have been misinterpreted and taken out of context. Xilian earlier said the Philippines advised the Philippines against recognizing Taiwan's independence if it does not want Filipinos in Taipei to be affected by the conflict, while China says it does not want a confrontation in the Taiwan Strait. It is not ruling out the possibility of displaying aggression.
Some try to find excuse for the new exercise by citing the safety of the 150,000 Filipino overseas foreign workers in Taiwan. The Philippines is advised to unequivocally oppose Taiwan independence rather than stoking the fire by offering the U.S. access to the military bases near the Taiwan Strait if you care about the 150,000 overseas foreign workers.
Taiwan also warned against the Philippines letting other countries weigh in on its territorial dispute in the South China Sea. This following the announcement of additional Enhanced Defense Cooperation Agreement or EDCA sites, as well as the Balikatan exercises being held a few kilometers from the disputed territory. The Philippines and the U.S. may also just be using the Philippines to advance its geopolitical strategy by increasing its military presence to stir conflict in the region.
Provocative actions of bringing in external forces will not help but further complicate the situation and cause more problems and putting regional peace and stability at risk. We should learn from history and avoid repeating mistakes.
Still on the issue, the National Security Council maintains that the Philippines is not meddling with China and Taiwan's conflict. NSC spokesperson Jonathan Malaya says the Philippines is primarily concerned on improving its defense capabilities and infrastructure. Malaya notes that this is the main reason why the country is increasing its security cooperation with the U.S. Meanwhile, the Defense Department says it objects or takes exception to the Chinese ambassador's statement, noting that disputes should be resolved peacefully. It notes, though, that the Philippines is observing the One China policy and that it's maintaining the ASEAN principle of non-interference when approaching regional issues. Still, the DND reiterates that their main concern is the safety of Filipinos working on the island. Senator Risa Ontiveros called on the palace to urge Beijing to recall Wang over his, quote, disgraceful statements. The senator notes that the issues on Taiwan's independence is exclusively for the Taiwanese government to tackle and that the Philippines respects the people's right to self-determination. Meanwhile, Migrante International says China is making it appear like it's holding OFWs in Taiwan hostage. The group adds that Beijing should start ceasing its aggressive actions against the Philippines if it truly does not want U.S. troops in the country. We'll be back with more stories after the break. Keep it here on One News. One News Now. I'm Diego Castro. The National Water Resources Board has approved additional water allocation to the Metropolitan Waterworks and Sewerage System, or MWSS, for April 16 to 30. The board is allowing an additional 4 cubic meters per second allocation for MWSS, increasing the total to 52 cubic meters per second from the initial 48. The board says the additional allocation will support efforts by MWSS in addressing water interruptions in the west zone of Metro Manila, which is affecting millions of customers. They note that MWSS is currently intensifying its pipeline leak repairs and maximizing the utilization of its water treatment plants and deep wells. Based on the most recent Pag-asa forecast, near normal rainfall will be received in the Angat area from May to September. This is expected to replenish the water in the dam, which will alleviate the possible brunt of the impending El Niño phenomenon in the later part of the year. The Prime Minister of the Czech Republic has arrived in the Philippines last night for his 3-day official visit. Various government officials welcomed Prime Minister Peter Fiala at the Villamor Air Base yesterday. Fiala is expected to discuss with President Bongbong Marcos the bilateral relations between the Philippines and Czech Republic. The two leaders are expected to tackle issues on defense, trade, and investment, as well as judicial and labor cooperation, among others. The Foreign Affairs Department says the visit is a milestone as both nations will commemorate the 50th anniversary of their diplomatic relations in October. And those are the top stories of the hour. Join us again at 9:45 a.m. as we continue to monitor the day's biggest stories. I'm Diego Castro. We are One News. All sides, all the time.